So with that, let me introduce this person who is kind enough to give us his time and brain. John has been leading innovation teams, thinking about innovation questions with, as I have been taking to call it, more Horizon 3 or next questions. So we have an idea of what we do now. We kind of have an idea of what we might want to do tomorrow, but what do we need to do next year or the year after that? John and his team at Brilliant Experience are really, really good at tackling those ambiguous, thorny, really future-oriented questions. So he is at Brilliant Experience. It's in the DC area. And John, as you see by the 3 letters at the end of his name, which I can say are hard-earned, he holds a PhD in cognitive science from I checked this morning, John. It is the Johns Hopkins University. So thank you so much for joining us, John, and take it away.
Sure, my pleasure. No, thank you very much for inviting me. And yeah, I'm very impressed. Not that many people get the plural in John's there in Johns Hopkins. So there you go. Okay, cool. Well, I will just so briefly say, yes, I do work at Brilliant Experience, which I helped found. And I just want to say that, yeah, we really try to understand the audience for a product or service and think about how next to use that new ideas to help with innovations and new directions and ultimately steer your companies in the right directions. And so we're a very small company that tends to work with very large ones and well-funded startups. And so we would be delighted to continue to do so. Okay, so that is enough about me. And, I figured I was a professor, so we ought to start with a quiz. So here we go. And I don't know, actually, at the time we were working with one group. There was HQ was really popular with the team, so we always had to do HQ at like dinner and stuff. They'd stop everything. So I thought we should have an HQ about our Gen Z folks. So to give you a sense, we've worked with I guess now several hundred. We're close to 1,000 either interviews or sets of recordings that we've done with different up to almost 1,000 individuals in Gen Z. So quite a range there in the qual side. And so we've learned a lot of different things about them. So I wanted to give you that feeling that you might not have had exposure to. So the question here at hand, of course, is very important, is what are our kids age 13 to 25 not thinking about? So is it Hollywood celebrities, haul videos, or goat yoga? Okay, so I'll give you a moment to think about that. I don't know if I guess our best recourse is to have you light up the chat and give us your guess. Anyway, you think about that amongst yourselves, and I will give you about 15 more seconds. And so here we go. So the answer is, these things wind down on HQ. You got to be fast. Oh yeah, let's see if I get it to go. So the correct answer here is Hollywood celebrities. So they are just not into, and this is one of the reasons why, they're having real trouble, having the Julia Roberts of the world, be very successful in movies. It's because it's not their thing. So, and actually, I want to let you know that goat yoga is real. So the deal is that you go to a place where there are little baby goats and you do your yoga, and sometimes the goats climb on you, and apparently that's a fun thing. And so, and I think my point is that you are not the users, you're not Gen Z, and so we need to let you know a little bit more of their perspective, because it's clearly not your own. Unless, of course, you are also a fan of goat yoga, and hats off to you. Or you're a fan of haul videos, which you might also know about. And I will explain what a haul video is in a sec. Ben, do you know what a haul video is yet?
No idea. Have no idea.
Okay, good. Okay, so we've got something we can teach you. Wonderful. Okay, great. So let me just tell you a little bit about, so I think what we want to do in our structure here is to have, I won't just talk about goat yoga. I want to give you about half of our time to tell you a little bit about Gen Z and what we've learned, and about half of our time talking about how we got that from some of the tools, one of them being, of course, T-Scout. That's why we're here together. So I can just show you, this is a silent video, but this is just someone's Pinterest collection of goat yoga. And so she was very into goat yoga, and so you can see all the pictures of people in the fields and stuff like that. And this was her showing how much time she'd taken to get, the goat pants, the goat yoga, the goat, headdress, you got to have the whole thing. So anyway, you can have a passion that is goat yoga here. And oh, I like that picture with the goat across the two.
Wow,
people.
across two people, yeah.
I know. So what are we talking about when we're talking about these Gen Zers? And so I just wanted to say that, they are, more than half the world's population. And, they're finding products via social media. And I'll tell you what those social media things are. They might not be the ones you're thinking of or you use. Um, Virtually all, at least in America, have a smartphone. There are 61 million of those buyers, and that's enough for almost anyone. I think P&G would be happy to have 61 million buyers. And the spending power. Ben quoted the high end of a Fortune article that was like up to 143 billion, and I've seen a wide range, but the key point is we're well in the billions. And so this is a group that just on the surface makes perfect sense. We ought to know more about and think about as we think about how they might want to do. One example that we can all talk about together is working with them as consumers. Cool. Sorry, just have to click. And so, some of you might be like, well, we've done things with millennials and we're good, so I think we're all set. Well, I actually want to say that there's a fair difference here. So one of the things that really struck us were that as we started to talk to them, there were things that were really unique. So one was that, they just had to figure out all of the social media stuff for themselves. They had to do that at a very young age. And if they've had it basically all their life. So, I am old enough to have a Gen Zer, and I reminded her that, yeah, I lived before cell phones. She was like, wow, just mind blown, right? And so, she has, like many of her peers, mastered the art of presenting herself online. And so we will talk to you just in a moment about what an Insta, Finsta, and Sinsta is, because you need to know those things, right? And that's a natural thing. So I promise not to speak in tongues the whole time, but I want you to recognize there's lots of things that you may not know that you should know. They grew up with, basically there was conflicts and recession. And, millennials were tagged perhaps unfairly with, kind of lazy, or, want their avocado toast or whatever. Well, these kids are amazing. They are all like scrappy entrepreneurs. They're always looking for a side hustle. So my girl recently was posting things about stickers that you could buy, custom stickers. But I swear that so many of them have some sort of gig going on. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is that in terms of, you think of, I don't know, a grandparently kind of person, and they're sitting with their book in repose, patiently, contemplating the prose. And, you think about a millennial and they're like, oh yeah, next. Well, I'm here to tell you that these folks are even faster at going ba 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 ba. And I'll show you some examples. So that's relevant to if I've got an ad or I've got a message I want to get across. This has to go fast. And so I'll show you why. Okay, good. So what I'd like to do is give you I think I've got about 7 points that I wanted to make about the nature of our folks who are Gen Zers. If our Gen Ys were oversharers and our millennials were just like, posting stuff everywhere, these people have incredible curation skills. So, and by the way, the icons down there on the lower left are where they are. And so, I'm sorry if Ben, I'm using you as my student today, but how many of those do you recognize? So which ones do you recognize here?
Okay, starting with the top, I know that's Instagram, YouTube,
yeah.
Snapville, right? Snapville, that's a joke. Snapchat. I don't know what that next one is. And Twitter. The bottom, I'm less. I think Pinterest, Reddit. I don't know what that is. I know that's Twitch, and I have no idea what that the gear.
Good.
I don't know.
Good. Okay. So let me tell.
I think I did okay. We'll see.
Yeah. No, you did quite well. That's so, and these are generally in order of preference. So if I'm looking to just use a feed, right? I want to browse and see some cool stuff because I got a few minutes. I'm waiting for a bus, a train, whatever. Right. Instagram is still number 1. YouTube is right there behind it. It's tail. You're absolutely right about Snapchat. This is actually Google Discover. And so most people don't know they're using Discover. And this is where and actually it is true too that people are also using, there's a iPhone equivalent. where basically if you're on your phone and you swipe to the left, you'll find that there's some sort of feed that's right there kind of built into your phone. On an Android, which are on average more, there are many iPhones in the US, but actually if you're slightly less, a little lower on the socioeconomic status, it's more prevalent to have an Android. And also outside of America, it's way more prevalent to have an Android. That's where Google Discover really shines. You're right about Twitter and Pinterest and Reddit. And sorry, you didn't know what this was, right? So this is Discord. So that's if you're a gamer, you might be chatting with each other back and forth on Discord, and Twitch is to watch video gamers. So in the same way that old timers might be watching the World Series baseball, you might want to see what people are playing on video games. You go to Twitch. And the last one is actually Steam, which is another communication tool.
Okay.
Primarily geared on gamers. So let me just show you, I mentioned in code just a moment ago that like Insta-Finsta stuff. And so to translate, that's where I have my normal Instagram account, my Insta, but I might also have a fake Instagram account. That's my Finsta. And I might be doing things that I don't want my parents to know, and that's your sin stuff. Okay, so here we go.
All right.
So let me have one person explain this to you, and I'm going to try to adjust my volume accordingly, and I'll try not to blast you. But let me give you this person's example here, and I probably won't play the whole thing, so we keep moving, but I'll give you the sense. Oh, time out. Here we go. Let's try and get it to go.
Hello, welcome to Instagram account number 1. This is my spam account. It's where I post basically anything that I want to, and it's a place where I can see what my friends are doing. So basically, as you can see, like from numbers, I don't have a lot of people on here because it's strictly for my friends, and it's so that I could post, like whatever I want. And this one is my main account. I have everyone and anyone. If I just scroll through a little bit, you'll see there's like some celebrities, there's some of my friends, stuff like that. It's where I post the good parts. And then my CodyCo account. This is my fan account for CodyCo and friends.
I thought that was great that she had a CodyCo account.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And actually her, she had a fascinating side hustle. So she has done videos since she was very little of her sitting in her walk-in closet with a Barbie playhouse and Barbie and Ken, and made little videos, just cute little videos of here's Barbie, here's Ken, and they, today they're going to drive in the car, whatever it was. They're going to go to the garden and have tea. And she has been gained in popularity. So she is actually getting paid monthly to do these things because she's so popular on YouTube. So so
that's
there's a
amazing.
perfect example of a one of these Gen Zers who has a side hustle and has found a way to be successful.
Very quickly, John, if I can interject just for a second. For those of you who are new to using Dscout, the videos that John is showing there are collected using a screen record type of question. We'll get to that more in a second. But if you're wondering how we came about these very intimate, very, you could see that it's like a contextual think aloud. We have a way of using a mobile app to collect what they're doing on their mobile devices. So I know I can see some folks maybe bubbling up with questions there, but continue, John. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Please don't hesitate to interject like that. Good point, and absolutely true. So the other thing I wanted to make sure that you had sparkling clear is that these are people who are so used to all visuals. So we've worked with some. Let's see, how do they ask that we put it? Top 5 technology companies that are known for. I use them for my email, for example. And anyway. One of the things that they were concerned about is that, hey, if you imagine it, so I was just showing you the things they were using: Instagram, picture, YouTube, video, but also imagery, Pinterest, picture. And then imagine that you're someone that wants to do a paid advertisement, has a bunch of words on it, or you want to, get people to type something into a search box and get, links back. Well, who would want to do that, right? Because it's like, all visual in their world. So I just wanted to say that there's this, the way that they consume news and information and sports and tutorials and everything was either a movie or an image. So one of your challenges is actually to find a way to engage them visually or through video. And it's so important. And I just want to show you, so as a Gen Zer, one of my challenges and one of the things I get really good at is going like scan, scan, scan and picking something. And I said these are split-second decisions, but you shouldn't trust me. We should put it to the test. So let me just show you an example here. So this is someone's Snapchat account. So they're in the Snapchat sort of explore page on Snapchat. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me go back here for a sec. A little out of control. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at the explore page. I don't think there's any sound to this. I just want to give you a sense of the pace. And once you get seasick, I'll stop. So you can see you're moving pretty fast and you're just like, oh, maybe this one, maybe this one. And so her system was almost having trouble loading at the pace that this was going, right? So, okay, you get the idea. This is real pace. This is real time. This isn't them speeding it up just for me. I don't have it playing faster than normal speed. That's the real deal. Okay. And the other thing I was going to say about that is, this scrolling happens all the time. So you are looking for inspiration and you might start, at one place and say, oh, that's cool. You start at the explore and then you find something about, so this was the best of royales. So this is talking about battle royales, which is a type of like game to, there can only be one finisher kind of thing. And you might go from that to watching one of those videos to something that's related to that, to something that's related to that. And suddenly you're in a completely different place than you started because you sort of meandered through this. And so you often wander and get lost. And, one of the challenges that this group face is they actually really struggle with, let me give you an example. So on YouTube, one person said very passionately, like, I'm trying to find a really good tutorial for smoky eye, which is a, makeup style. And I don't want a smoky eye for like Saturday night. It's all glimmery. This is for actually a job interview. And, I have, the person I was talking to had pretty dark skin. And so she's like, I'm not as dark as some people are, but I'm not, as, light skinned as other people. So I want someone who's about my complexion to do smoky eye in the right situation. And I want to see what, makeup they use and how they approach it with my kind of, semi-oily skin. And so that person had incredibly hard challenge searching for that and finding things. And so that's why when they found actually people they could like to follow, they wanted this really relatable content. And by that, I mean, like, I could buy those clothes, or that person's about my body type, so I can see how those clothes hang. Or, oh, I could really use that makeup. So sometimes they wanted the fun, like, draw rainbows all over my face just because it looked cool, just for entertainment. But many times they were looking for things that were truly in the things that they were interested in. So, and I'm just showing you here, it's totally common to browse Snapchat in the morning, go to Instagram at lunchtime, and browsing Google later in the day. And so the question is, how can you draw this group out with content that would inspire them to stop and take a look at your stuff? Okay. And I think I've got, one thing you can do is you can offer them something useful. So the thing about these Gen Zers is they are not only really entrepreneurial, but they're always learning. So despite, sometimes having really goofy videos they watch, they are also, trying to learn how to cook something cool, like, and we'll show you some examples of that from the study that Ben and I did. Or how I mentioned the makeup example. You've got a gaming challenge. You don't know how to get past level 31. Well, somebody has done it and somebody has a recording of it. Or, I want to see the latest way to, try to make money through a new kind of gig, and what did other people do. And so it's really interesting to see how, so if you can provide content that is interesting to them and actually helping them solve problems, genuinely, and it's really authentic, it may well be something they follow quite closely. Cool. And here, I think I can just keep running going for you. I wanted to say that they, while they want to learn, they also definitely love to be entertained. And so, I've been keeping poor Ben and Matt back at D-Scout, waiting for this moment. So I asked them if they knew what a haul video was.
What
They
is
didn't.
it? Yes.
And so a haul video is where a brand sends you, or you go and buy a bunch of things from a store. Like you got, you know, so for example, Sephora would send a package to someone with the latest types of eyeshadow, or you went to take your pick. So Supreme, and you just got these sweatshirts. And if you don't know what Supreme is, Supreme's a New York City store. It does sort of streetwear that it was bought out, so it's now not as cool as some of the others, like Bathing Ape. But my point here is, see, these are names. These are not like Polo and like, you know, I don't know, North Face. These are like really, you know, more edgy kind of brands that these Gen Zers find. And they're looking to see, how is the latest fall lineup going to go on a body like mine? You know, what do people like? Does it feel scratchy or not? And these videos are actually very practical. They are going to save you from going in the store and to hear what this person's, you know, response is. So let me just give you an example here. And let me just, let's see if I can get this to play for us. Oh, here, sorry. I'm having trouble getting the video to play.
Alexa, I think that's how to pronounce her name. I really like her because I feel like we are very like similar. So she'll have like vlogs and just like and try on videos for like a specific company. She's doing this one now. It's Fashion Nova. I don't know. Let me see if I can click it and not actually.
In the world of fashion, nothing's more important than what.
But yeah, so she'll try on clothes and show like how specific clothes will fit her. And I like videos like that because I buy from that same company, so I can see how they would fit on me, since we're very similar in size, very similar in like skin tone, skin complexion, and things of that nature. So she says she's very petite. I feel like I'm also very petite, so that gives me an idea of how that specific brand's clothes would fit on someone like.
Yeah. See, it totally makes sense, right? So she was getting someone. So I just wanted to say, this is what we mean by relatable. So someone who is like me, so clothes that I can buy, and someone that's, you know, about my build or, you know, complexion and so on. So it makes perfect, it's a very logical thing to do, right? But it's fun to watch them try on these clothes and get the comments and stuff like that. And so this is in terms of building brand, you know, getting folks to actually try your products and talk about them. And the point here is, this person who is, I guess, a you know, sponsored by this group Fashion Nova, she is not necessarily a like huge star. And the point here is that I would recommend, if you had marketing money, to spread this around a lot of different people that are in your target audience, rather than spending all your money on having, you know, 3 minutes with the Kardashians. You know, really that's not people's thing generally. They're really looking for these relatable folks. It's really interesting. So the spread is amazing here.
Shout out to, really quick, shout out to Gavin Pham, resident 24-year-old here. Yeah, this is legit. Good. So we're getting it, John. One of our attendees is firmly in and giving us some love. So shout out to Gavin. Thank you for the little pulse check there. We got it. And I learned something. Haul reviews. Okay, I know what Matt and I are going to be doing in our spare time now. When we're not discounting.
So it's a haul video. Yeah.
Haul video.
There you go. There you go. Okay,
all right,
cool.
John, continue.
So absolutely, they want authenticity. You saw that from that, you know, really articulate young lady we just heard from. And by the way, that last one, I don't know if you saw my face there. That was actually when we did one of the live video interactions we can do with D-Scout, rather than just getting them to do a self-recording. So that was an interview. Let's see, anything else. No, they absolutely, by the way, are savvy. And so this is where, you know, they know when things are being sold to them, and there are specific ways. For example, in Instagram, you announce that in your comments that this is a paid thing, this is sponsored, and this is how I got the clothes, and am I giving them back or not? And am I getting paid to talk about them? And so it's very important to know those things to decide how much you want to trust this person's you know, videos about these things. And sometimes, you know, it's someone with their own line. And so if it's like, anyway, yeah, if you've got your own thing, obviously you're just like plugging it, right? Like I'm like, hey, buy my book. But if it's someone else, it might really be more trustworthy. So they are thinking from that perspective, and they understand that people get paid to do this stuff. They just want to know. It's okay to try and sell me something, but they want to know. And it's not cool to try to pretend like you're not doing that. That is very not cool. Okay, good. And they tend to follow people that match their taste over these super popular people, like Kardashians are the obvious example that everyone knows. Okay, so and these are two examples here of like Brandy Melville is actually pretty popular, but it's not hugely known. It's not like Nike. And NYC Clothing is another good example there of these brands that get to be known in the community, but you can get somewhere. It's interesting. You can take on these big brands. Okay, cool.
And that might be why, John, that might be why the celebrities and influencers weren't as high on that HQ trivia list, because influencer might in its name suggest lack of authenticity, someone whose job it is to quite literally influence and persuade or motivate you to do a particular thing. It's interesting for me to see, as someone who studies persuasion and social influence, how folks are tying influencer with authenticity and credibility or lack thereof. So that's interesting to get back to that, especially with the cohort here.
Absolutely. And we had, just to give you a feel, it's very common that you'd like, hey, I get an email from, Sephora is still a big deal. So in terms of brands, at least in the fashion world, Sephora and a couple of the others are still very prominent. But so I get a potential coupon. Cool. So then I can go right away and see what have various creators produced with this new product. So what does it look like? And what does it look like on this kind of person? And then I also want to know, how I want an in-depth tutorial of this, because I want to know, is this something that I can do in an hour before school, or is this like a 4-hour project? Or reverse, is this just like 5 minutes and it's got this neat little trick? You just like put this kind of makeup brush down and splatter it, and it works. So there can be these, I can either be really hard or really simple, and I don't know until I check it out. But my point is, before I go to purchase this thing, I've done all these things. I've looked at who's used it, what's it look like. I've learned how do you use it, what's the best way, what are the other products, do I need a concealer before I put that down? All these, what are the steps? So super informed consumers in comparison as old timers that walk in the store and say, should I buy this? So I wanted to say that this is a different world, and you need to be prepared for all these levels. And you can see these are true Gen Zers because their battery level is always like in the red. Always stresses me out seeing that. Okay.
They have their battery packs that they carry with them, and they're on their luggage. They have two or three extra battery bricks. Yeah.
Or they just let it go. Yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah, just a few pieces that, and I focused on this consumer side only because it's something that we can kind of all relate to. But we really looked at it from lots of different perspectives of how do they gather new information? What do they just enjoy, like gaming and things like that? How do they represent money and work with money? Like there are all kinds of things we've learned, and I just didn't have time to share them all. But I just a few little things just to trigger my memory here. So they absolutely do an exhaustive research on things, and I'm sorry, I have a typo here. I so apologize. But they do exhaustive research, and you just saw the example here. I think this is a perfect one where they get a coupon, and before going after it on the coupon, they're seeing what's this thing look like, how do I do it, and so on. They are a group that respond to coupons. So I've got Sephora FOMO, fear of missing out is real. Like I swear that this is like a trigger. I'd be in an interview with someone and they'd be like, oh my God, there's a new Sephora coupon. I have to tell my friends. And so, and then we can get back to the interview. So it was, it was something. So, it makes perfect sense, right? I'm like almost broke. I don't really have a source of income. I'm young, and, I could potentially get this cool thing. That's exciting. So the coupons really matter to them. Sharing, in terms of sharing what you're doing, there's an interesting social appropriateness here, where if I was thinking about buying something, like, maybe it's even that I'm trying to get like a used Gucci purse or something. It's totally cool to say, oh my God, check this out. Is this cool or what? Before you buy it, right? And getting your friends to respond and say, oh, it's totally cool, that'd be great for the dance, whatever it is. But after you bought it, you don't want to be pretentious if one of your friends can't afford something like that, or what else. It's not cool necessarily to actually show that I just bought this. So it's a really interesting dynamic where you've got to be a little cool about it when you get something, but it's totally fine to blast out like, aren't these Jimmy Choo's awesome? And those are high heels for those of you who aren't in the know, and they're super expensive. But the point is that you can talk about them all day long, but you don't mention that you purchased them. You're subtle. And you want to know the true cost for things. So these are folks that have, a good example is they bought something on Apple Pay with their iTunes and didn't realize it was a monthly subscription and got totally burned by all these fees and didn't know how to stop and stuff like that. So they really want to know, tell me really what this costs and I will trust you more. As far as shipping something, if there's a shipping cost, they are out. Like they are like, I just should stop talking because there is not even a question. If you try to make me pay for shipping, forget it. I'm never buying that product. The other thing is that we did find these, they were pretty disciplined and entrepreneurial, as I mentioned. But there were occasions when midweek is there some little thing, and that's where that coupon comes in hand midweek. Man, that was happening. So it was really interesting that getting a little something that's within my budget midweek was something that drew them. Get me through that week, man, because all those millennials are having their avocado toast. And experiences were way more valuable than physical things. So they are thinking about the most awesome road trip, or I had some people that knew the airfare codes inside and out because they knew exactly how to do it. So one person worked for the park system because he wanted to do that because they are used to people going off and hiking, right? So they have it so they can keep their job, be away for 3 months, come back and have their job again. And he would make just enough money to go on this adventure, and he would convince like 3 of his friends to go with him. And that was his thing. And so he didn't need a normal job. He didn't need a career. He was after experiences. And it was really interesting. That was definitely a component. And the last thing is that, we all are thinking like, hey, let's get out the door as fast as we can. Interestingly, there were a number of people in terms of money where they didn't want it. On one hand, they were totally sold on Venmo, right? You Venmo things back and forth. For as opposed to something like PayPal, which is a former client who actually bought Venmo because for that very reason. PayPal is old school, but anyway, Apple Pay, they felt like they didn't want to set it up on their phone, and I was like, really? After using Venmo and everything? Like, yeah, because I don't want to like accidentally buy something or have it like swoop past the register and I just bought $700 worth of stuff. So they actually wanted a little bit of a barrier between themselves and making a purchase to make sure they knew they were making a purchase. So, and also, so it wasn't like so spur of the moment. So the one-click buy was not cool with them. It was really interesting, not necessarily what I would have predicted. So, and that goes to this control. So, and there were definitely things with this younger generation, not the millennials, but the Gen Zs, looking to turn their phone all black and white in some cases, or turn off all notifications. Basically, they were trying to take control again of their life and not get too drawn in by all these feeds that clearly are drawing them in really well. And so they're starting to get to that and starting to think just a little about privacy, but just early stages. Okay, so hopefully I've shown you that our goat yoga friends here are a little bit different than some others, and it's worth doing this kind of research to really understand your audience to approach the problem correctly. Okay,
John,
good.
Very quickly, sorry, we have just there have been a few questions about the
go ahead.
areas between, and you and I, given our academic pasts, presence, we aim for specificity, right? So I want to be able to say, like a demographer, like a Gen Zer is between X year and Y year, and a millennial is between blank and blank. And that's useful for me as someone designing an experience because I want to be very clear and specific. But do you see overlap between millennials broadly defined and Gen Zers broadly defined? We've had some questions about that space where you've got maybe an older Gen Zer and maybe a young millennial. Do you find that the patterns between, well, How do you see those two
Yeah. Yeah. No,
demographics?
let me give you a good example. So, so my question to them is, do they use Facebook? And so I don't know if you noticed, but I never mentioned Facebook once
Right.
in this presentation. And that's because the Gen Zers are like, that's for grandpa. Why would I ever use Facebook? No, I'm never ever going to use Facebook. You kidding me? And so, but our millennials are all over it. And so sometimes that's the interesting breaking point in behavior styles. And also, are you willing to use, well, email is even older, but yeah, I would say in terms of like, are these fuzzy artificial categories? Yes. Broadly, are there some commonalities amongst this group? I think there really are, and I would say that this difference between, the people who grew up knowing recession and always knowing social media from like a tiny age, and like trying to swipe the TV screen at home, that was in the living room, are the group I'm talking about. And the folks who sort of, where this is somewhat new, that they started using that at a certain point, are probably our millennials. So it's almost like a behavior difference.
Yeah.
I would categorize.
It's as if we need a gradation between digital native and then mobile digital native, wherein like
that's fair.
Knew about the internet, but I mean, tablets and smartphones as they conceptualize today, we're not as part of, I'm an older millennial, so not a part of my history. But for someone who is currently 23, they may not have known a world where at least a mobile device that's connected in some way that allows you to do powerful things, or even the idea of an app as a package that can do so much it could be another differentiator. One other bit, we have a lot of questions about some of the insights that John is talking about. So what he's presenting on now is a combination of some of the work he did for that great big digital innovation firm, as well as his history doing work with this audience specifically broadly. He is going to walk through a project that he did with me, or that we did together. And if you're interested in anything about that project, we can add you as a viewer to the project. So I know Kirsten, what's up, Kirsten? Good to see you again, so to speak. If memes came up, Teresa asked about advertising. John and I, as we'll show in a second, asked Gen Zers to show us examples of good content and not so good content. And a lot of times memes and ads are things masquerading as memes, or rather trying to be actual content, but where actual advertisements came up. So chat your name, or like put your hand up, or we've got Matt here. He's got the D-Scout webinars. He will add you as a viewer to the project so that you can dig into the data. So again, chat us or ask a question or put your hand up. Email. Sure. So you want us to email, put their email in. Sorry. So put your email in so that we can add you in. Sorry about that. Matt is right here giving me directions on how I need to do. So sorry for the interruption, but yeah, really good questions. We probably won't be able to get to all of the various results, but send us your email via the chat and we will add you to that project. Thank you, John. Continue.
Right. Sure. And I mean, logically, we could go even further to say, well, if you really need to know enough, that I will not fight you if you ask about working with our team in Brilliant Experience. But
right. Yes.
But and yeah, I mean, I could even just chat with you after the fact too. I know we only have so much time. That I got one question about differences with socioeconomic status, and so it's interesting in many ways. I mentioned that being careful not to share your purchases and stuff. There was actually really interesting sensitivity to that in the Gen Z world that might not be there with others. And I would say that, I don't know that I would really shout out a really obvious, I mean, there were cultural things, or like, is it common for my friends and I to go traveling, or, go to private school? Yeah, with different socioeconomic statuses, that was a, situation. But, and you might have different cultural appropriations, or, clothing styles that you want to wear, but the style of interacting was very similar, actually. It's really interesting. So in some ways, I'd say that wasn't the biggest thing. And I know that there's all kinds of interesting questions we can ask. And I think, let me tell you a little bit about how we got there. So we learned a lot of things. And so just lastly, if I was going to give you some of these quick tips, I was like, I want you to think about these, so-called nano influencers where, hey, I've got 1,000 followers and, and not a million. We found that actually, as long as the person was authentic and they're like, hey, this is the real me. And, sometimes they'd have a video and say, you know what, today I'm sick, so I'm not going to show you anything. And then the next day they showed them something, actually, those were the people that people felt the most benefit from learning about when they did a haul video or something, because they knew a little bit about the person and what they were like and how they went out and all that kind of stuff. So these nano influencers were I think where the money should go. And if you have any sort of advertising that's just words, I'm telling you, you want to switch it to images and videos. It was so compelling. Words are so 5 minutes ago. We do need to capture their attention with something fun, but they absolutely go into deep dives and things. And you heard about this authenticity notion and helping them learn. And, helping them with how they can make a little buck, is real. And so that was another thing that was really common about this. Okay, cool. So let me keep us right on rolling here. So I just want to tell you a little bit, the people at D-Scout called us because I think we had some of the largest studies that had ever been done with D-Scout. And that's because we were doing these national studies that were, these were going to go worldwide. We were doing tests in the US market. And then from there, it was like, we're going to do Singapore and China and 3 countries in Europe and 2 in South America. And so let's start with, understanding how best to do this in the US, and we're going to stamp this out in other countries. Okay. And that's something that D-Scout is fully capable of. And by the way, I will tell you I will try to be authentic like my Gen Z people who want things. I'll tell you the things that worked for us and didn't, very authentically with D-Scout too, because I think that's fair. But just to give you a sense, here are 2 studies we did. One of them we selected, I think from about, it was about 1,100 folks that had been, that were scouts that wanted to, basically applied to be part of the study. We selected 250, and we wound up doing diary studies where we got a lot of diary entries from them. So they took about a week and gave us like several things a day. So moral of the story is I had 6,600 videos to deal with. Okay, so like, oh my God, that's a lot of stuff. And then from there, we had, of the 250, we had 170 remote interviews that we did as well to dig into. So we found interesting patterns in this. And we wanted to say like, well, is that because of this or because of this? And I can't tell. It kept popping up. So that's why we did these live interviews afterwards to dig into what happened in this interesting, these patterns we were seeing. Why did we have those patterns? And that's what the live interviews were so good at. And then we actually did, and I apologize, I guess in D-Scout parlance, they're called live missions. So those were live missions. And then actually after that, there was one more question that one of the senior executives was like, oh man, I wish you guys had asked this question. Well, the great thing is, because we have these 250 people, we knew which ones were really good responders. We didn't use all of them. So we called up, collected through our tools in D-Scout, said, would you like to participate in one more mission? And I'm so sorry. We really quickly got 14 more to answer that question that senior executive wanted. And ultimately, actually, we followed up with some of them to say, hey, we're visiting your city, I think it was New York and Denver in this case. And we went and visited them in their home and did an interview in their home. So, really extensive study, right? But we learned a lot from doing that. But I just want to give you the feeling that we can start by doing something with self-record videos, move on to interviewing them, and then sometimes even just visiting them at home to get deeper and deeper to the why behind the actions and behaviors. Cool. And this other one is a little smaller scale. It's probably more typical. And so we did a pilot with 15 scouts that gave us 5 entries each. So we had that 75 diary entries just to practice and make sure we nailed it. And then we did it with, basically 10 times that many, 140 scouts with 750 diary entries. Again, that's not a small project, right? That's 750 videos to analyze. But we had a team of like 5 or 6 working on this. And it wasn't a period of months. This was, weeks. So you can go through this and I can show you how. And then ultimately we did those live missions or live interviews after that here too. Okay, so those are 2 things. I can't show you the data of what we found there, obviously, because that's for a client. But I did want to give you the feeling for, what how you might structure a study with DScout. Okay, cool. And actually now I want to move to really practical mode of like, how do you do this kind of stuff in DScout? What does it look like? If I've never really done research, this is so cool. I want to study these Gen Zers. We don't know much about them. How do I get started? Just want to give you like a couple tips to kind of follow along with. And this is where, Ben, feel free to ask any questions or also bring up any questions that are relevant to these different pieces. So don't hesitate. So the first thing here was, just think about what your ideal mix is, and you can ask in DScout for very specific, like I want these age groups and these locations, and then furthermore you could, someone mentioned socioeconomic status, you can ask questions in this regard. You can just ask for a video, and I think a very small one, and that's a reasonable thing to do. So just think about what would be either a great mix of people, or, oh, it would be really bad if we got that mix. And think about that in advance and structure your recruit around what those criteria are that would make it really successful. We've had actually really good luck with recruiting in DScout. And I think one of the things that I really like is that we can get them to do a very short, like introduce themselves video about the topic we're speaking about. And that way we really see like how articulate are they. You learn so much from that. Like, is the video in a dark room with a really shaky screen? Is it, did they put some thought into it? Are they rushing home? Are they in the back of their mom's car and it tells you something about how they live? There's so much you can learn from those little videos actually. And also just, that senior executive I mentioned before, he's like, oh, I wonder if it's, changes if this happens. And so I'm just going to say that when you're recruiting them, you can go ahead and ask a few more questions. And that way you can subdivide things later and see how it falls out. So in our thing that we did, we were asking questions like, I wonder how many people did a vegan video. And, it's the kind of thing you can look at after the fact if we're ready. And just when you're recruiting, how are you going to decide who is a good participant for your study? And you want to make sure if you've got multiple people rating, you're all rating the same way. And I just always ask an open-ended question. So, tell me, so if it's someone older, I'd say, tell me about something you learned about in the news that was interesting. Or if it's someone younger, I'd say, give me your favorite TV show or movie, or what do you binge and why? And so just something open-ended. So it's not, I like this color because I have a shirt that color. You want them to be able to articulate something about themselves, and you learn so much from that. Cool. So I just wanted to give you a feeling, why don't we actually do some stuff here? So let me just close. The Q&A was on top of my screen here. Okay, so I'm out of presenter mode, and hopefully you can still see this okay, but to remind me, we talked about the screener questions, how do you review people and filter them, and I just want to give you a quick feel, and I'm going to try to drive this without any help from my colleague here because I've started to learn this stuff. So our mission was called the Passion Mission here, and so basically you can go from the start of this guy. We've got different sections. So in this case, we only have one activity we did with them, and we did the screener. So you've got the screener down here. And so I've got all these people, and what do I do to decide, what am I going to do with them? And so as you're going through them, you can go ahead and we do this typically one by one and hunker down and just, I guess the first thing is we know that we want a certain proportion. So for example here, how many are of different genders, or what's the range of household incomes? Do we have the right balance and stuff like that? So as I start to say, hey, I'm not going to worry about our unlabeled people. Those are the people that probably tried to get in and we haven't reviewed them yet. Of the people that I think I'm going to take who are a possible or good fit, I can start to see what's our mix of people with like, oh yeah, it looks like, maybe we've got a lot of people who didn't want to respond. That's cool. But we also have like a balance where probably about like middle income. So if that was our target audience, great. And otherwise we might say, if we wanted to have like really high-end folks, that maybe I'd take a few of these people off my list to invite. And I guess my key point is I can find the right balance for me. And I can see, first of all, who I think is high quality, and secondly, make sure I've got the right mix for my my tastes and my needs for my study. Okay, cool. The other thing is that, and I think in these ones too, yeah, we have just a short video, and you can just see, you know, how things turned out in that video, and those were actually super helpful. So we've got all these, you know, so think about these multiple choices that we might want to have, and then that helps you with filtering folks and deciding how, you know, to get the right balance of people for your study. Cool.
Yeah, that's the really, sorry, John, really quickly. That is,
yeah.
I mean, to really reinforce, because DScout and other remote tools, we're so known for our ability to collect the video, but to John's point, it's so vital to have closed-ended questions or open ends that you can search, because you know, you might know, I need people who, like in this case, John and I were screening for people who were really interested in food and fitness. And so we were just looking for folks who, you know, above all the other interests they had, music, fashion. We wanted really the folks who were big foodies and fitnessies. I'm not sure what they would self-identify that group. And so having a closed-ended question allowed John and I to filter just to those folks who said, yeah, you know what, I'm really big on food, or I'm big on fitness, or I'm big on both. And so it got us to the videos that we really wanted to review quickly, because it's intensive. This is contextual data. You're getting a lot in each video. And so having some closed-ended question that you can begin filtering with above and beyond your demos, which are still important, really helps the task go more quickly.
Yeah, so it was just interesting, you know, so we've got, like in this group here, this is a much larger sample size, and I won't show you the data we collected, but I can show you the you know, the mix. And I think, you know, for this study, you know, whether you used an Android or an iOS tool was actually really important. And so in this case, I could see that really easily. So, you know, whatever it was, if I just turn on and off these guys here, I can see the mix of people we're likely to pick. And it was just a really easy way to set it up and agree between people on how we do it. Okay, cool. So let me keep us going. Gosh, I guess we're just have a few minutes, right, Ben? Is that?
We're doing great. Yeah, I mean, to the extent that you have time, I think folks would love to keep going. I know you're a busy person, but yeah, you're doing great.
No, okay, no worries. Okay, I'm just going to drop. Naturally, my headphones have decided that they're losing steam, so I'm just going to go to my normal speed. And there we go. Okay, so now you should still be able to hear me. And Ben, if you can't hear me, let me know.
You're great.
Okay, good. Let's see here. So let's just talk real quick. So setting up your questions and directions, I just wanted to give you a couple tips here real quick. So, oops, sorry, back here. Just, this is, if there's anything I was going to warn, you know, get you to think about, is be really careful about your instructions. So you want to make them as natural as possible, and think about when you want people to respond. Is it okay if they're traveling when they're doing it? Is it okay to do it really late at night? Should it be like right before they have dinner because that's what you're interested in? You know, so think about time and where and when you want them to respond, and just think about the way you construct the questions. Let me just give you one really quick example here, over here. So if I go to my setup, and I go to my questions. So, oh, I'm sorry. I just have to get to the right piece of this.
And importantly, folks, this is the project that you'll be added to. So everything that John is showing you here, you'll be able to dig in and dig through if there's something you want to see more closely. But yeah, I'm right now. Exactly I get to be the not so great the pupil here.
Yeah, no worries. So so here, what we did is, if I can get the yes. Okay, so the specific question we asked them when they were being recorded was, you know, show us how you typically engage with this person, account, or brand. And so what did people say? They said, I engage with this person by, and you know, so, okay, so I didn't happen to set this up, Ben did, and so Ben was a good sport in letting me mention this, but this is why we pilot things as well, so you can consider this a little pilot study. And we would want to make sure we reword it in another way. So just to give you a concrete example, I think I've got one here for you. Yeah, so here we go. So in this one I said, you know, hey, what's your favorite format? Show us an example. And then we ask them these specific questions, like, what is it about it you like so much? And they would say, the thing I like about it is this, or, you know, what's one adjective you'd use to describe it? And they're like, French chic. And like, who made the post? Because sometimes when they're showing you something on video, it's going so fast, you don't know the source, and you might want to know the source. And, you know, literally, are you in Snapchat or Discord, or what are you in right now? And so anyway, I just wanted to give you those little tips that we found that super helpful. oops, over time. Okay, good. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, I think you saw how we got to those questions and directions. The only other thing I was going to say is we actually made a set of directions that were in a video as opposed to in text, because our Gen Zers are so into videos. They don't want to read anything. So it made perfect sense to do that. And then I think the last thing was, you know, we had 6,600 videos, right? Wow. You know, what do you do? So there can be, you know, I just want to say it's actually worth having a fair sample size, and think about if they're 1-minute videos, that's not that much in terms of just the time it can take, because we also have the transcripts here, right? So we can scan the transcripts to decide if we want to watch the video at all. And we can see, you know, start to see people who are real ringers that are really good and we really want to focus on their data, or other people where it's very hard to hear them and you kind of let it go. But you know, most people are actually quite good, and it's just, are they hitting at exactly the thing you're interested in? So I just want to say that I really recommend that you start with one specific question, like if you had, tell me about your favorite fashion, that you listen to all those together, because you start hearing these patterns. And then we score the responses and, you know, highlight these really good people. And let me just show you how, you know, we like to do that. So if I go over here to my entries, so these are all the videos here. Let me just turn this to only the second question, because I was saying we're going to do it one question at a time, so it's easy to just filter that down. So each person has 5 videos here, or up to 5. I guess they had to do 5 to fully complete this. And then, you know, okay, what do I do at this point? Well, I just want to say that as you've got a specific video, like let's take this Ariana, who we scored as 4 stars, just literally by clicking the stars right here. It's super simple. But as we listen to these various videos, so this one said, you know, I engage with his Instagram account by liking their videos, stuff like that. And what we did is we hit the tags over here. And I just wanted to say that, you know, in addition, in addition to having things like, you know, are they following a brand or a person, you know, sort of like food or fitness, you know, you can say things like, oh, this was an aspirational video and is really informative for them, and that's why they liked it. And actually, I remember this one, they actually really liked that it had short videos. I accidentally unclicked some of these things because I was presenting at the same time here, but I wanted to give you a sense that those are actually really helpful, because I can go back here and say to myself, you know, of all these videos, so first of all, let's look at the food videos. So now we've eliminated all the ones that are fitness videos. And then I might be really interested in the ones that are, they talked about it being really aesthetically pleasing. Okay, cool. And so really these are things that I can do to, you know, eliminate certain videos and just see the ones I want. So anyway, here, yeah, let's see. Yeah, there were just a handful that had this I'm sorry, it's an or function. So it's either food or aesthetically pleasing. So here's the aesthetically pleasing one. So I remember, for example, this guy, so me personally, the choice for a visual of food that he found very appealing, you know, it wasn't
I follow them because they have like very aesthetically pleasing photos of food, and then again I just typically like their page and then share like the ones that I really love with my friends.
That's the kind of thing that he recorded. And so, you know, you can see that I've started to memorize these different things just by walking through them. Okay, so really, you know, I was going to say that the thing I really want you to do is, as you're watching videos and you like them, just mark them at that moment. Don't wait until later, because like when we had thousands of videos, truly you get overwhelmed, right? You got to do it at that moment. And it doesn't take long in the system, so it's good to keep that record. Nice. Okay, the last thing I was going to say is, when you're actually presenting this to folks, you know, I do want you to not get too in the forest for the trees, which you can, you know, obviously do with hundreds of videos, but what were the patterns you found? And we kept adjusting those tags on the fly as we saw new things to see if that was a pattern too. And occasionally we had to go back and rescore some that we had gone through, but it was worth it once we spotted those patterns. And we actually really use, here, I didn't show you this, but you can get in here. And if I liked all these ones, there's a little export function over here. And I can export the data, you know, the notes section if I wanted that.
if I made comments, but primarily I can either get actually all these videos out. So for Ben, I was like, Ben, I've got to get this done for you. I'm flying to California last week. So I just downloaded all the videos and I watched them on the plane. And then I used dscout and encoded it after the fact. But this is really good for backup and stuff like that. Your client wants them. And also for all of the transcripts for each of the things. I found that super valuable. So you can search for things here too. So I promised to stop talking in a second because I know we've got to go. But I'm sorry, I have to turn this on and turn this off. But if we want to see if there's something very specific, like which ones were talking about a gym because they were like fitness buffs. So I remember there's Jonathan. There's one other person I was thinking about. Oh yeah, no, it was Jonathan. Yeah, Beast Mode Jones. That was a funny one. Or I want to go and see who talked about vegan things because that felt like a trend. And see the way that we're finding these, I didn't code it as vegan. These were found because the person talked about vegan food and the transcript that was automatically produced, had it in there. And the transcripts, by and large, they're pretty good. As you might expect, something super specific like Twitch, it doesn't always know. Or, if someone was talking about those haul videos, they might not recognize that. But generally, I think it's actually a pretty good system that way. So anyway, I've talked a lot and I've had my coffee. And so I should just take a step back and say, thank you so much. And I very much want you to think about these core things that we talked about with our Gen Zers. And I just want you to, get these self-reports and, really try to get this natural data. So in context, in situ, what are the situations? And I really find that having multiple instances from people were really good because if we just got them to say, give me one thing you like as opposed to three, we would find an interesting pattern with the three, or we would find that one of those wasn't the best video or wasn't the most compelling, but others got to the aspect we were interested in. And I find this filtering and scoring super helpful. So, and just when you're presenting to these stakeholders, you've got these great videos, so download them and use them. And we actually gave our stakeholders access to dscout in viewing only mode, so they couldn't mess up our coding. And we also told them, hey, look for this specific thing. So we made a tag that was like all the videos for Bob or all the videos for our stakeholders. And that way they could very quickly get to those. And so we found that really helpful too in convincing our stakeholders the value of what we were doing.
That's great, John. Thank you so very much. I know that, like we said at the beginning, each of these tips or tactics or aspects could be its own webinar. And so thank you all for hanging with us. John, why don't you go ahead and show your contact info in case folks want to get a hold of you. There he is, jw@brilliantexperience.com. We will be following up with the recording, of course. I'm Ben at dscout.com if you want to holler with any questions. If you do want to be added to the project, again, and you haven't already chatted your email address, please do so. That'll allow you, like John said, as a viewer to jump into the data, get a look at it, play around. You can even export. There's a lot of other things in there that, obviously because of time, John and I weren't able to cover. There's a video clip creator. There's word cloud creators. There were some questions about how to go through this thicker data. And that's obviously very good because it's easy and fun to talk about how to collect the data, but you, as John said, ultimately have to do something with it. So going through that. So thank you so much, John. I hope we get to do this again soon. Please holler with any questions you all. We're going to be sending the recording out next week and look for more interesting work from Brilliant Experience. Go see John at DCUX. Hopefully we'll see you at Epic. And thanks again for everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.